Hello everyone, welcome to the Jewish Week Online. This week, the Jewish Federations in North America came together for its annual General Assembly in New Orleans. The General Assembly brings professional and lay professionals together to talk about Israel, community, and charity. Israel is close to our minds and hearts, and with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and Iran, each day brings a new conflict and a new issue. Let's hear from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Vice President Joe Biden.
We must strengthen our unity. And the best way to strengthen Jewish unity is to strengthen Jewish identity. By deepening our connection to our shared past, we fortify our bonds to one another and to our state, and thereby strengthen our common future. And this is why this year I decided to initiate a national heritage plan that will restore and renovate hundreds of Jewish and Israeli sites throughout the country that resonate with our ancient and modern history. I want young people to visit the place where Israel's first Prime Minister, David Ben-Gurion, declared our independence, just as I want them to visit the place where our patriarchs and matriarchs, the mothers and fathers of the Jewish nations, are buried. Talk about distortions. Can you imagine that UNESCO tried to deny the Jewish connection to Rachel's tomb right next to Jerusalem and to the tomb of the patriarchs in Hebron? That's the place where Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rivka, and Leah, you know these names. You know these names for almost 4,000 years, and so does the rest of humanity. Billions of people know them, so this will not work. This absurdity to try to erase our past will not work. And this absurd attempt to deny our past will fail as we reconnect a new generation of Jews with their history. They want to know, we all want to know, something that our enemies and the politicized international bodies cannot bring themselves to admit: that the Jewish people are not strangers in the land of Israel. Israel is our home. It has always been our home. It will always be our home.
I've known many of you in this audience for a long, long time. President Barack Obama feels exactly the same way I do, I assure you. Look, folks, the ties between our countries are literally unbreakable. Our common values are interwoven in our cultures and our mutual interests, none more urgent than the shared struggle against the scourge of violent extremism and terrorists. That's why the President has moved so forcefully and with such determination against the repeated attempts to delegitimize Israel. There's a worldwide campaign going on in some quarters to delegitimize Israel. We've seen it before, and we continue to see it. Attempts to single out Israel for criticism or to deny it the right to self-defense like all other nations have. The President has reinforced this for all the world to hear in his Cairo speech and to the representatives of all countries at the United Nations when he said, after 60 years in the community of nations, Israel's existence must not be subject to debate. The President went on to tell the Assembly that Israel is a sovereign state and a historic homeland of the Jewish people. It should be clear to all, it should be clear to all that efforts to chip away at Israel's legitimacy will only be met by unshakable opposition by the United States of America. End of quote. And these were not just words. This President has put those words into action. That's why we withdrew from the Durban Review Conference in February of last year due to anti-Israeli violence. That's why, in the wake of the Goldstone report, we loudly and repeatedly claimed our support for Israel's right to defend itself and the ability of its domestic institutions to conduct their own investigations. That's why we have consistently opposed anti-Israeli resolutions in the UN Human Rights Council and the General Assembly and UNESCO. Indeed, at the President's instruction, we were the only no vote on 2 Human Rights Council resolutions in September, one the flotilla incident, and one the follow-up to the Goldstone report. That's why, at the direction of President Obama, as Bibi will tell you and the ambassador will tell you, I spent hour after hour in the aftermath of the flotilla incident trying to put it in its proper focus and ensure that Israel had its right to conduct its own independent investigation. And that's why the President has continued to fight to ensure that Israel is included in all international bodies to which it should rightfully belong, including regional groupings at the United Nations and the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, which, with our help and strong support, Israel joined for the first time this year. It's also why the Jewish Federation's recent initiative to counter delegitimization attempts through Israel Action Network is so important and so appreciated by the President and me. And it is why, as I will say more about in a moment, we think it's critical to keep the international spotlight on the genuine threats in the region, like Iran's nuclear program, not Israel.
As you just heard, Israel is facing multiple issues. With the support of America and its allies, we hope that peace is around the corner. This is Arlen Herman. I thank you for watching.